So Pete, tell us about your story and how long you've been in business.
So 21 years now. I was a software engineer before I became a realtor. Kind of got into it by accident. Never really expected to be a realtor, and been a realtor ever since. So yeah, and just started doing a lot of relocation stuff, and have managed to build a solid referral-based business just over years of working hard at it.
Yeah. I don't think I told you about this on the phone, but I jumped from technology into real estate too, and it's been quite a ride. So you've seen booming markets, declining markets, and booming markets.
Yeah.
You've seen it all.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that you had told me about was building that list of contractors. Can you tell us a little bit more about your approach there?
Yeah, I try to be a resource for my clients just outside of a real estate transaction. So trying to give them reasons to reach out to me, and I try to have lists of plumbers and drywall people and electricians and general contractors and all of those kinds of things, so that they have a reason to reach out to me after the transaction ends. And so I always try to just be a resource. I say all things house.
Okay. All things house. I love that.
Yeah. So anything that has to do with the house, they hopefully think to reach out to me and ask me those questions.
Okay. So I'm originally from Chicago. We call that I got a guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? The contractor.
Yep.
But I love that. All things house and beyond the transaction. So I know with social media is always a big hot topic. For you, you focus more on the personal side of social media?
Yeah, and I think it's going to depend on who your market is. The most important thing when building a referral-based business is staying top of mind. And for me, it's not social media. I don't really love social media, but there's different market segments, age groups that really love social media.
Yeah.
And you just need to know who your audience is and speak to them in a way that they want to be spoken to. And so I think that that's the important thing. And I think it makes sense to do a mix of ways to reach out to people, whether it's phone calls or coffee or dinner with couples, and then also some social media, and just kind of mixing it up to make sure that you're talking to the audience that you're trying to reach.
Okay. And when it comes to traditional media, what do you do traditionally?
Mailings. So it's funny because people don't really expect to get anything but junk in their mailbox anymore.
Right.
And we just did a mailer for scenic drives during fall colors, and I've had so many clients text me or reach out to me or call me and just say, hey, I got this, which one is your favorite drive? Or I had some people reach out jokingly like, I'm not selling, just leave me alone. Just reason, I like to reach out to people and never in a way where I'm like, hey, do you know anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate? Just reaching out for the sake of reaching out.
Yeah, that low pressure approach.
Yeah, very much so.
And so would you be the type of person to send out a McDonald's coupon, or are you more of like a farmer's market kind of person?
I would be more of a farmer's market guy.
Okay.
I do think that coupons can definitely speak to a target segment. I know that there are folks that'll just hang on to a coupon forever. Just like, I've got this coupon for Carrabba's, that
Right.
I get one appetizer for free, and it'll sit in their drawer for 10 years. And every time they open up that drawer, they're like, I got to use that coupon from Carrabba's, to get my appetizer. So
Yeah.
It just, as long as it's sticky. We used to have the term sticky. You want something that, calendar. I do a calendar every year, and I can't tell you how many people I go over to their house and my calendar is on their refrigerator.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'm looking at them every day when they're getting their coffee. Like,
I love that. And for you though too, it's about your brand and how your brand speaks to them through those messages. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I thought that was really interesting.
I think that your brand is really, really important, and you really want to define what your brand is, and you want to make sure that the materials and the things that you send out are complementary to your brand. So for me, my tagline started as professional real estate services, and so I've always just tried to have a very, very professional, front that I've put to my clients, and so I want to make sure that the things that I put out speak to that and aren't counterproductive to that branding.
Right, so be cautious, make sure things you're sending out speak to your personal brand.
Yes,
Love
yeah.
that.
And it's really important to know what your personal brand is and define your personal brand, I think.
Okay, so one of the challenges as busy agents, and you've been in the real estate industry 20 plus years, is we get to meet a lot of people and we get busy, right? What's your strategy for staying in touch with your past clients?
Well, so you alluded to it earlier with the I got a guy people. And so in your sphere, you're going to have the I got a guy people. And so those are the people that, that at a cocktail party, they're constantly trying to refer somebody. It's like, oh, you need to remodel your kitchen, I know somebody, So those are the people that, are your best people to stay in touch with on a regular and more consistent basis, because they're the ones that are going to be most likely to give out your name to other people. Now, it's important to stay in touch with all of your sphere, but it's important to identify those I got a guy people,
right,
and really concentrate your efforts on those people, because they're the ones that you're most likely to receive business from.
So in another way of saying it, it's like find your influencers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And focus on them.
Yep. Or inner circle, or
Inner circle, yeah. Love that. So also, you were mentioning when we spoke the other day about comes down to the service that you provide that leads to the repeat and referral business. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that's, and it's kind of like duh when you say it, but it's the most important thing, and that is, you have to provide service that people are going to feel like you did a great job, and they would feel comfortable referring you to a friend or a family member to say, okay, they're going to take good care of my friends and family member. And I think that there's just a couple of basic things to focus on, when doing that. And the first thing that I always try to do is I try to think about, if I was in their situation, how would I want to be treated? What would I, what is the level of communication that I would want? What are the answers that I would want provided to me as part of this process? The other thing that I think is extremely important is to set expectations. And I have a presentation that I take sellers through, obviously trying to win listing appointments, but I also have a presentation that I take buyers through to set their expectations of, what does this process look like? What does the contract process look like? What can you expect from me? What are you going to be expected to do? And then the third thing that I think is really important, and you alluded to it earlier, is provide resources. So and I have standard emails that I have put together in my drafts folder for, okay, it's time to have an inspection. Here are the people that I recommend. This is what you should ask for. This is what you need to get your lender. So just taking them through the process step by step, just to really walk them through it, make sure they know what to expect.
What about when things go a little sideways?
That is, we
During
talked
a transaction,
about, during a transaction. My philosophy on that is that everybody's really super stressed throughout a transaction, and so what I try to do is I try to shield the client from that as much as possible while I engineer a solution. So if something comes up and something didn't happen, or a date was missed, or what have you, work with the parties necessary and really identify what the problem is, come up with a path forward, maybe two paths forward, and then go back to the client at the end of that and say, okay, this problem came up, I've been working for 2 days to try to get this fixed. This is, these are our choices. We can go this way or we can go that way. Or I got it fixed and we're moving forward, but I just wanted you to know that, this happened. And part of that I think is really important. People just don't, a smooth real estate transaction feels easy. And so people are like, well, gosh, should I really need a realtor to do that? But they don't really know what we do on the back end to facilitate that. And so I've made it a point to try to illustrate to my clients what I've done to get them to the closing table, to make sure that they understand, hey, okay, he did a lot of work to get me there. It wasn't just, he didn't just present me a contract and I never heard from him again.
Right, and basically you've mitigated the problem, solved it, and then you're telling about it.
Yeah.
And if you can't solve it, at least you've made take steps to doing that, right?
I always try to solve it first and then go back to them, because two people don't have to lose sleep at night, so it might as well just be me.
Right. So in thinking about a repeat and referral based business, I know you get a lot of referrals for relocation type of customers. Tell us about your approach there, because I thought that was really interesting. get them less focused on the house. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I do deal with quite a few people that are relocating in from out of state, and one of the things that I've developed is a tour of the city that I take folks on that want the tour, and I try to focus obviously on the benefits and the things to do and all of the trails and open space and the concert venues and sports venues and all that kind of stuff that our city has to offer, just to get them excited about living in the area. And so it also puts me as a trusted resource. Again, I'm not asking for them, hey, you're moving to Colorado Springs, I want to sell you a house.
Right.
It's, hey, you're moving to Colorado Springs, let me show you how amazing our city is. And then typically at the end of that, they're like, okay, well, if we move here, can I call you to have you help me find a house? I'm like, yeah. So I do showcase some neighborhoods for them, but mostly I intertwine some history of the city and then some of the different areas, the pros and cons of the different areas, and I try to be pretty candid about it.
Right, getting them to understand the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. So you've been in real estate a long time, so you've seen different markets, right? You saw the really challenging markets, 2008, 2013.
Yeah.
What did you do in those markets that have set you up for success now?
Eddie alluded to it earlier, and it's being an advisor and making them feel like you're not just trying to get a sale. And I've got Eddie beat, my longest client that it took
and Eddie's sitting right here.
Yeah,
He's smiling.
I'm pointing at him. Eddie was just talking about a client it took 3 years to find a house, and mine was 7. So from the time that I first was introduced to this person to the time that they actually did a transaction with me, it was 7 years. And so I think it's just really important for them to feel like you're an advisor, to feel like that you're not just trying to sell them something, but you're actually trying to provide them advice. And you're trying to walk them through the process and give them advice based on their situation. And that may or may not result in a real estate transaction for you. But for me, what I've always found is that by providing candid advice like that, it has created a level of trust to where people will, even if they haven't done a real estate transaction with me, they might even refer somebody to me because they know that I'm going to give that person good, real advice based on their situation and not just try to sell them a home.
They'll tell 10 other people, right?
Yeah.
So you talked to me about not being the bus bench guy, and then no offense to anyone that advertises on buses, but you have this mindset about where you spend your time and how it builds your business and attracts clients. Can you tell us about that?
I'm trying to think what we were talking about.
Lifestyle.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So just doing, being involved in activities where you're going to find the kind of clients that you want to work with. So whether that's being out on the golf course or being a cyclist or being up the mountains is kind of more of a solo type affair, but then maybe providing, hey, these are great hikes that you can provide to your clients, those kinds of things. I think it's just important to integrate, whether we like it or not, our life is pretty integrated with our business, and so to interface with people that could potentially buy or sell houses, in doing things that you love to do, it makes for a very organic, experience for getting new clients.
And on that, the last question for you. So when you meet new people, are you telling them what you do or not? How does that work?
So the classic is the cocktail party. So you walk into a cocktail party and people love to talk about themselves. And so I just like to listen. In Ninja they call it the family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And so you can listen for opportunities there. But I don't even do that. I just listen and try to have people. The more people tell you about themselves, the more they like you, even if they know nothing about you, just because you're listening to what they're having to say. So I spend a lot of time listening at cocktail parties when I meet new people, and then if they typically they'll pick their head up at some point, realize that they've been talking for 45 minutes without a breath, and then they'll ask you what you do, and then that's when I tell them. I say, oh, I'm in real estate. I've always been a soft sale person. I've never been who do you know that wants to buy or sell a house? So I just do a lot of listening, and then if people ask me about myself, I'll tell them about myself. But I always try to kind of take the back seat in those conversations.
Yeah, and you've built a thriving business over 20 years. It's been amazing. So let's give it up for Pete Olson.